Hey there, hey there, hey there. Alright, I'm gonna share with you now I'm gonna share with you some of the types of fairies in, the lower of Indumati. Are you ready? Alright, in Fairyland and Indumati's homeland, there are different sorts of fairies. Alright, there's ones that claim to be the original ones that are more pixie-like and lack the ability to parse, complex emotions, since they only feel one at a time, and thus complex emotions are completely alien to them, and they don't understand concepts like mixes of colors or flavors or things like that, and thus find them interesting and alien to them, though puzzling, as many of them haven't even left Fairyland. Hmm. Alright, I gotta be honest, that one's kind of based on, the Peter Pan, archetype. You guys might not be familiar with it, but yeah, that's basically how they worked in that. So I kind of put that, kind of into it. All right, I'll be honest. They kind of claim to be the originals in the story, but they're not actually. Mm. All right, next one. There are also the elemental ones that claim to be the children of the elemental lords who draw a form and ability from the different elements of the schools of faith and knowledge. And yes, there are, and each of and yes, both version, and yes, there are 20 different elements, and both of them are divided into 10, and they're part of the schools of faith and knowledge. Oh yeah, and all right, now that's irrelevant though. All right, the elements such as fire, air, wood, water, earth, poison, darkness, and other such things, they tend to have and these ones tend to have elemental forms and abilities, much in the way that they are. Much of the way that, and this comes from a bit of theosophy, which kind of proposed that there were different elemental fairies. Basically, proposing gnome and sylph and salamander and undine. Mm, wait, did I say undine twice? I kind of meant. Oh wait, gnome, sylph, undine, and salamander. Yeah, I guess those would be considered elemental forms. Fairies. It's stuff like that. All right, next one. There are also the more animalistic ones that resemble different kinds of animals and often have hybrid forms and even take on the appearance of talking animals as well. Though some of them do resemble humans even. They are made much like the elemental ones, based on the idea that fairies are connected with nature. Yeah. mm. And that's that's one that me is based. And I'm kind of and the next all right, the next one is kind of where we get into where you get into ones like me, which are which are the fiction types. There are also the fiction type ones, which resemble and are inspired by fictional characters and various kinds of beings. And those can be hype. Those can tend to be a fusion of all the different other ones. Such as Indumati. Mm. And but they can also resemble different types of different types of fictional characters, and various kinds of fictional beings, such as but not limited to fairy tale characters or even Arthurian knights. Some are even inspired from morality plays, which have more dangerous behavior due to their extremities. All right, I gotta be honest. That's kind of part of what Karabasi is from. She's part of the leader of Neo and Sealy. All right, now irrelevant now. Irrelevant for now, though. They are a common type that is more often, that is more often, seen as the more modern ones of today. Such as Indumati Evening Night, which I just went over. Fiction types are often resemble a fusion of old and new lores that are made due to the mix of human ideas about them. Such as Little Old Me, yeah, which I just explained. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I probably should have just anyway, next one. There are also the Archfey, who claim to be descendants or remnants of old forgotten gods and goddesses due to human tulpomancy, imagining them that way. Imagining them in such a way, and who have immense power in their own right. The current ruler of Fairyland right now is Titania, and she's kind of she's kind of an Archfey type. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyway, next one. There are also ones that bear resemblance to celestials and lower tier angelic entities that are that have a bit more chaotic nature, since humans imagine fairies as celestials that were too wicked for heaven but too innocent for hell. This type would later devolve and evolve repeatedly via tulpamancy into Seelie and Unseelie, or light or dark elves. Though it has changed over the years, and they often had intense bitter rivalries with each other. They're also, and some of these are, basically like the lawgivers of, Fairyland, which, yeah. However, due to the chaotic nature of both of them, the laws often operate on logic that is deemed, insane troll logic that mostly makes sense to them and is often rigged in their favor. Now, a lot of fairies and how they behave and operate are based on these laws, which can be a bad thing, very much so. Trust me on that, dude. Trust me on that. Yeah. I'm glad that, I'm part human and don't have to abide by much of that nonsense. Yeah. Anyway, next one. Which is kind of the last one I had in mind. There are also the apparition types, which are due to fairies being, imagined via tulpamancy, as being, souls of the dead, such as unbaptized children who died and, became fairies, and other such ghost stories being imagined and incarnated into fairies. They often possess more paranormal and supernatural abilities, such as being portents or bringers or messengers of death, or being able to do poltergeist activity or spatial bending. They can take on many different forms, including humanoid and animal-like ones. Isn't that just wonderful? And that covers the different types that I have, and I'm not sure if I'm going to expand on it later or, change things. But yeah, those are the different types of fairies that exist in it. Yeah, and they're all kind of based on different types of human ideas about fairies. Yeah, since, tulpamancy is a big thing in the lore, so yeah, it would, result in, all these different ones. Which kind of also, kind of translates into, how the Indumati world does work, based on tulpamancy and all that. Anyway, yeah, since, it's basically, basically most non-human and non-celestial beings are, basically made from human imagination, given flesh and form through tulpamancy, as well as their various worlds. Yeah, so anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you had plenty of fun, and I'll see you later. Goodbye, and thank you for listening. And don't forget to give me your name, yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe and give me your name, yeah. You should do that, yeah. Trust me, I'm a fairy.